Bring on stage the gentleman that I look up to, Laban Cliff. Thank you, Andres. Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Are you all charged for the afternoon? Awesome. Thank you very much. It's indeed a pleasure to be with you today. Aside from the profile, I'm human. I love networking. I enjoy taking lead on conversations, and more reason why I actually chose to come here this afternoon to be with you today. So I would want to make this as engaging as possible. I'm trying to get the best social connection we can have, and I'm told that's virtually via the hashtag EPL Alumni. That's hashtag EPL Alumni. I'll be checking that from time to time. I wish you on Slido, but because of time, we'll just go straight into it. I'm told we're also live as well, so should our online audience be willing to interact with us, please get a hold of us on ELF Africa, on our YouTube platform, and of course, Emerging Public Leaders. So please, let's engage. I know my format is to make sure that we also have a bit of a Q&A and interact as well as we go along, but we'll do that at the very end of our discussion. So ladies and gentlemen, it's an absolute pleasure to be with you today. But of course, I'm not the star of the moment. The star here is the panelists, and we're going to just quickly invite them on stage. And I know I have a ton of a profile to read, but you'll excuse me and I'll give it up to them to say to us in just a minute. They'll introduce themselves, what they want us to know about them, and then now we'll jump straight into it. So the format is, once I introduce them, you give them a round of applause up until they come right up on stage. Are you ready? Yeah. I didn't hear an oh yeah. Are you ready? Oh, yeah. Good stuff, good people. All right. First up on stage, I'll sit on my far left. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Sylvester Obongo, who's going to join us from the Public Service Commission. Keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping, keep clapping. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Liberia, please help me welcome Faith Nuwehili Siakor on stage. A round of applause, a round of applause, a round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Ghana, please help me welcome Pa Kwesi Esono Abakar Boni. He's from the Ministry of Defense. A round of applause, a round of applause, a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Join us there. Ladies and gentlemen, next up on stage, last but definitely not the least, please help me welcome Hadija Mohammed from Kenya. A round of applause, a round of applause. Keep going. Now who's gonna welcome me up on stage? Andreas, it's okay. We'll take it that you already welcomed me. All right, so good people, we just have a few minutes for our chat up on stage, and then of course we'll throw it over to you to interact with us. Dear panelists, karibuni sana. Mine is to avoid going through the profile and just maybe hear from the horse's mouth. So we're going to start from Dr. Sylvester. He's going to just introduce herself, what you do, and how this program propelled you to where you are today. So you'll have just about a minute each for that. First up, Dr. Sylvester.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Cliff. My name is Obongo Sylvester. I work for the Public Service Commission of Kenya. I'm a British Chevening scholar. I did my master's at the University of Manchester and my PhD at the University of Newcastle, Australia. I've worked for the government for the last 33 years, having started in Treasury 10 years, then Office of the President about 13 years, and then now I'm doing about 6 years at the Public Service Commission. Started at the Public Service Commission as the head of Research and Policy Analysis Unit. Set up the department. I'm the first head of the department. I set up the department. After setting it up and running, I was also requested now to set up the department for performance and service delivery transformation, where I'm currently This program took 2 years to conceptualize. We had to ground it to where it is, looking at the existing structures in Kenya that we know. We had the internship program. We know we had the Kenya School of Government, but we wanted to develop a unique program that would develop young public servants to excel and achieve their goal. So how has this program propelled me to where I am? It has increased my exposure, my networking. I've come to know a lot of young people who are enthusiastic about public service and who really want to grow. And I'm very, very grateful for that opportunity. For me, an opportunity to mentor, an opportunity to see that other people are coming after me is a big opportunity. So looking at the program, I see a very bright future for the public service, because we have got leaders who are focused to be citizen-centric. We have got leaders who are focused to go back to the basics of public service, that is service to the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. Faith.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm honored to be here today. I don't know, this session should have been before lunch, because it seems that we are off field. So I'm Faith Noeli Siakor, and currently I serve as Director for Training and Capacity Development at the Ministry of Internal Affairs, Republic of Liberia. So before serving in this role, when I was just a PYP fellow, I was placed at the ministry in the office of the minister. And from the beginning, I had no title. I was just there serving and rendering service as per my boss' request. From there, I was later I gained seat, and I was employed as secretary to the Minister of Internal Affairs before I could be promoted in my current role. So I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in Peace and Development Studies from the Cottington University, and a Master of Public Administration in Public Sector Administration. So I have passion for public service. That's why I have been here for almost a decade, and I feel proud as a young woman in the space. So, what's the next question?
It's just how the program propelled you to where you are today.
Okay, so my journey cannot be explained without gratitude to this program, the President's Young Professionals Program, because I never had a broad idea about public service before being recruited. So this program has helped me because it provided the environment where I was able to learn from my peers, and it also exposed me to good practices in mentorship, which empowered me to be where I am today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, beautiful people. And I think it's an honor to be here to join on stage Dr. Sylvester and my colleagues here from fellow programs abroad. My name is Parkwesi Eson Abakaboni, and I'm an emerging public leader fellow alumni with the cohort 2, currently at the Ministry of Defense. Prior to joining the program, I was a passionate, and I still am a passionate community development enthusiast. And so joining the program offered me the opportunity to develop a core understanding of the government machinery, how it works, and how to harness that tool as a tool to render impact in my society, through which I've been a key contributor to change making within the service. Within the 5 years I have served within public service, I have been able to work at the Office of the Head of Civil Service as a public service fellow, where I contributed to the electronic process of recruitment. And currently I serve at the Ministry of Defense, where I work at the Research and Defense Cooperation Directorate, where I contribute to bilateral and multilateral cooperation agreements for security in my country, Ghana. So it is an honor to have been and still be a part of this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, Sadeja.
Hello everyone. Jambo. Okay, I'm Khadija Mohammed. My journey into the public service began way back in 2019 when I was an intern under the Public Service Internship Program, the first cohort. After my internship program, I went ahead and served at the Ministry of Health as a clinical psychologist during the COVID era as a universal health coverage officer, managing the psychosocial issues brought about by the COVID. After that, I joined the Ministry of Interior, State Department for Correctional Services as a probation officer in Peketoni Station, Lamu County, where I currently serve. What I can say about the program, it has led me to drive social changes within the community I'm serving, because some of the major challenges revolves around children's rights and education, literacy levels among the community in that area is a major challenge. And for that reason, I was bold enough to come up with a mentorship program for the school going kids to help mitigate the issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell, indeed a very rich panel. For now, and I'm sure you've seen that on your program, our conversation is all about innovations for good governance in the public sector. Most of you, of course, will see how different projects are implemented in view of technology as well, and how that can be enhanced. The conversation right now is how to infuse AI in a lot of the practices in government. We'll be talking around innovation for good governance, looking at how research is able to influence in this, and also the share knowledge and on innovations and collaborations as well. So I think the first question will really to be posed, and I think I really insist a lot on the examples that you're doing from the Ministry of Defense, from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, from the Ministry of Public Service, and I'll just go with the same format, start from Daktari as well. I think let's first describe it and just break it down. What in your view is good governance?
Good governance entails a lot of facets, but good governance is being citizen-centric, being able to serve the citizens the way they need, and also allowing them to participate and make decisions on the services that you offer them.
I want you to just delve a bit deeper on that, and because we're talking about leveraging on innovations around it. Could you maybe just give a teaser on the work that you did at the RRI, the Rapid Results Initiative, and how that helped spiral the good governance in the country?
Yeah. In 2005, I had just come back from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and the World Bank had piloted the rapid results approach in Kenya. But the program had stalled after the pilot. So when I came back, I was tasked with reconceptualizing the program to fit into government. So I reconceptualized the program as an RBM, results-based management tool. As a results-based management tool, rapid results approach is about implementation of programs. I remember the government at that time had been doing a lot of policies, but with very little implementation and very little impact. One of the pilot ministries we went to was the Ministry of Culture. The Ministry of Culture and Social Services used to give grants to people, to CBOs. So this time, as the National Program Coordinator, having reconceptualized the program, I was tasked with piloting it now as a government program. We chose 5 CBOs in a constituency around the slums in Nairobi. Not really the slums, but the low income areas around Jogoo Road. So 5 of them were CBOs, but we also chose 5 individuals who could benefit from the government program. Our idea was to increase the income of these people as to improve their level of income. Rapid results approach is team-based. You have to have key stakeholders who are going to benefit from the program also being part of the implementation team. So in our team, remember, we are doing it in Nairobi. We have chosen 10 CBOs, so we had to have the then city council. We had to have the groups and the individuals that we had chosen. We had to have the experts, and we had to have the ministries within our team. Rapid results approach takes a team of between 8 to 12. But I remember vividly one lady along Jogoo Road. Jogoo Road is the main road going to Eastlands from Nairobi. When we went to this lady, she had a small kiosk. How many of us know kiosk? Yeah, this kiosk had been demolished several times by the city council because they were saying that it was at a wrong place. So we chose this lady as one of the people that we were going to have for rapid results approach. We brought in the city council, we brought in the ministry. She was given the grant. The city council, we asked them, what licenses do you need for somebody to operate a kiosk legally? They gave us all the licenses that they need for a person to operate the kiosk legally. Then we also came up with a design of a typical model kiosk that they would allow. We set up on our journey for the 100 days. We took the lady through bookkeeping. We stocked her shop, and we kept on monitoring throughout the 100 days. At the end of the 100 days, her business had improved by 450%, her income. But for me, what touched me was her testimony, because we had her at KICC. She said, "Thank God you people came. Because just before you came, the city council had once again demolished my kiosk. And I had made up my mind to go buy poison, give my daughter, and I take, and then we die. But thank God you came. As I am standing here today, I am looking forward to the day I will hold my daughter's hand to the university." From there, we had the model kiosks. If you see the modern kiosks built in Nairobi with long shops. That is what bore that one. We said now we must say, if this is what we need, this is what you will need, and then therefore you can't demolish it. So we came up with a model kiosk. And I think if we did not invite the participation of the citizens who we really knew, who really told us what they know, we would not have had the impact desired. So rapid disaster approach for me was extremely innovative and impacted on real people on the ground.
Thank you, Doc. Citizen participation. A round of applause, please. It's a great example. Faith, I think it's the same approach. It's just maybe top of mind. What is good governance in your perspective? And maybe at the Ministry of Internal Affairs, I see you've also dealt a lot with the project dealing with the staff in partnership with the Foundation for International Dignity and Justice. Any project top of mind that you can pick up as an example of good governance in Liberia?
Thank you. So let me take you back to one of our community engagements that we had, where we have this town hall meeting, where we have community dwellers, local officials. They are coming together to tell us some of the things that affect their lives or their communities, so that we can find solutions to them. So there is this project called From Government to You, where we partner with other local organizations, where we have to group the women, the young people, the elders, to hear from them. So we use this approach. I brought this idea because from my development background, having some of those meetings, people will only feel free to speak up when they are amongst their peers. Like for the women, they will rather feel comfortable speaking when they're with their friends, women, instead of mixing them with the men. Because for us, our ministry, we deal with highly traditional people. So in some of those meetings, the men cannot stand to speak, and then you, the woman, you are standing to speak. So sometimes they will feel shy, they will not want to talk, they will sit at the back and allow the men to speak. Sometimes the men make the decision for them. But based on this program, we were able to gather their views and some of the issues that affect their lives. So based on that, as policy makers and public leaders, we took into consideration their recommendations and we brought it back to the table to our decision makers, to our bosses, and that was how they were able to move into the communities to ensure some of those issues are addressed. Like for the issue of conducting community leadership and community chairmanship. So this is where you have the community coming together to have people to govern them, where they meet the heads of the Ministry of Internal Affairs when there is issue within the community to resolve conflict. So we were able to link with them and always keep in that constant communication to ensure that their community are violence free and they are free from conflict, where everyone will express their view and work on change within their communities.
Thank you, Faith. A lot of community participation. Yes, a round of applause. Appreciate it. Apart from the Minister of Defense, I'm not sure largely would have a lot of leeway to maybe innovate or do anything, because largely being in the security sector, a lot of it is straight jacket. But what in your view is good governance, and any top of mind example you can pick out?
Okay, so for my scenario in the ministry, I'll take good governance as the ability to manage resources that have been left in the trust of government in a way that is transparent enough and renders accountability to the people. All right, and by way of this, we had this practical example when during COVID there was an use of military brutality to enforce COVID laws in Ghana, which received some media coverage and reportage. So we were tasked at the ministry to find a way to give leeway for the public to express such grievances. And that's when we operationalized and right to information manual that gives citizens a right to access information and render accountability from the ministry. So in the operationalization of such, we met with the military high command, organized a sensitization workshop for media and members of the academia. And this led to the creation or the institutionalization of an RTI desk, which receives requests from public for military, civil military operations, whatever operations that the military is embarked on, whatever expenditure that are not too sensitive for release for public. So this has increased accountability and transparency within the security sector. And that, for me, is an example of good governance practice.
Thank you, Bar. Very well. A round of applause, please. And last but not least, I think Hadija, from your side as well, would love to hear in your particular ministry what your definition first, and then maybe example they can give.
Okay, in my perspective and view of good governance, it's all about having the citizen at the heart of your services, and above all, integrity is very crucial when it comes to good governance. For instance, my role as a probation officer, my morals and values form a very integral part in the reports that I do day to day, because my role as a probation officer is all about doing social reports that has that social background of the offenders to the magistrate who has no idea who this offender is, and providing recommendation of the best suitable kind of sentence suitable for this person. So if my values are compromised, my integrity is compromised, how fair will I be to the community and to this offender? So in my role, good governance, once I do my reports thoroughly and submit appropriate recommendation that is of the best interest of that offender who might be a father who is a sole breadwinner, by recommending a custodial sentence, won't be building, but instead leaving some family unattended and bringing more problems like increasing crime, because what will the family do? It's going to lead to youth in crime, and my role is to prevent crime. So if I am going to put such considerations in my reports and design a treatment plan suitable for this person, I believe by being honest with my report and recommendation, I'm going to build the community as well as help this offender reintegrate back to the community. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. So from Sylvester's looking at the Rapid Results Initiative, listening to the community, faith, that's on the same. I think community perspective onto it. Pa speaks about the military guidance and influence, particularly during the COVID-19, and how that negative perception and working with the media, how you help that sorted out that in Ghana. Hadija on the social reports, reintegration of the folks back into the community. So I can pick a lot on the community aspect, listening to the people, and how that really helps to impact on good governance. We're going to talk about the challenges that you face. It might be particularly on that project or something totally different. But before we do, it's so we talk about the challenge and maybe the solution, particularly in the implementation of that. And in the solution, I don't know if you can add something on innovation, the use of technology. I'll speak about the work that we did with the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change and the President's Delivery Unit in terms of monitoring and evaluation of projects. More often than not, leaders would go and say, this is what the president has done, this is what the governor has done. But when you go into the ground, there is an issue in terms of what is spoken and what is actually delivered. So I would talk about the monitoring and evaluation toolkit that was developed, and how using technology, even with community leaders, to try and say this project, what percentage is done or what percentage is not done. So I'm trying to see that there's a big opportunity for innovation and use of technology in this. So maybe I can start with you, Hadija, then go back to Dr. So top of mind, I think the challenges maybe that you face, particularly on your reintegration or any other projects, and maybe a way to mitigate that you can advise.
What I can talk about the challenges that we face with governance, or let's talk of the new ideas like what I was talking of, school mentorship. Most of the time is the resistance part. New ideas come with uncomfortability, especially with the current people who have been there, because we may be new and we are young. So having people embracing the new ideas coming from the youth, who people feel that we are inexperienced.
You just came the other day. So,
yeah. Because I remember for me, as an Khadija, when I got into probation, I was barely 3 months when I got into the PCF program, cohort 1. So after the first segment, I was like, I've been having these issues because day in, day out, you are having to solve children crisis, child neglect, juvenile delinquencies. And these children are our future, are the foundation of the future leaders that we are retained to save. So we all say that prevention is always better. So what did I do? With the resistance, I have to incorporate all those involved. Working as a team really helped me to overcome some of those challenges, because once you have everybody on board, you tend to own those issues. Once you own the issues, now it's the collective responsibility of each and every person involved to ensure that this item is achieved. So for me, that was how it worked.
Paul, on your side?
I think for the challenges, especially working in a public service institution and you have bureaucratic structures in place, there's always going to be impediments for you as a young professional coming into the service with new ideas, brimming with so much passion. And so one of these challenges, I would say, is the support system, supporting Ali's role. Support systems, meaning that people in the higher hierarchy supporting those ideas that you are initiating or you are suggesting to management. And for me, a key way of dealing with that is identifying like-minded leaders in such positions and then speaking with them. Because I recall with the RCI initiative, implementing that, I was tasked with leading that operation. But then there were other senior officers who were not in favor of us implementing such. But it was through my relationship with one of my superior directors that led to us being able to get the team on board to solve that. So that partnership out there, that mentorship role that you have with your superiors is a key way of driving innovation within the public service, all right? And aside that too, coming down to, as you are also mentoring, as you are also being mentored by someone, you also try to mentor those behind you, bring them on board with whatever work you're doing, nurture them, let them know how it's done, and also listen out for their ideas, because you don't know, the next innovative ideas may come from them as well. Secondly, I would say the systems in place, that is the electronic system or the online systems, virtual systems that we in the civil service, especially from Ghana, we tend to deal with the traditional way of going about. Let's say, for instance, you're working on a letter, working on a document, you usually do the printouts and have it go through all the formalities, working through the traditional system. How about the innovation of applying the, online email systems into data or record keeping system, cloud systems, to help with the efficiency with this process. And I remember with as at my time during OHCS, when we were working under the public sector reforms for results projects, where we migrated the physical application forms for recruitment into a virtual process. We managed to hire consultants, work with consultants to install this platform where we could integrate and everybody could apply. And this, in a way, cut down serious corruption through the recruitment processes. This made it streamlined, and everybody who passed through that process passed through a meritocratic system, which helped improve efficiency within the employment process of the civil service. And I was privileged to moderate the session through which we were able to induct about 720 civil service staff through that system. And to date, that system is still being run. Yeah.
Oh, great. Faith?
Thank you. So it has been a very long journey and it has been challenging. So one of the challenges are resistant to change. You will notice that also the intergenerational gap within the public service. Sometimes those from the past generation, they feel you are too young and you can't be telling them what to do, even as much as it is important for the growth of your country, but they won't see it as important because they feel you are young. So resistant to change. And another reason why I also noticed that they resist change is because their capacity are not equipped or built. So sometimes they resist change because they don't know. And another one is resources constraint, because there is no fund to implement certain projects. It becomes difficult, so it becomes challenging. And some of the ways that I was able to handle some of those things, I was able to engage other international partners to ensure that we can secure funding opportunities, to conduct training for those who feel that they are not equipped to adapt to new ideas. So sometimes some of those international partners, some of the funds that they were able to give us, some of the sponsors or services they were able to render to us, we conducted training to build the capacity of those who felt they were not equipped. So on and on, although it has been challenging, but we are there working and we are trying our best every time to innovate change. Thank you.
Keep going, keep going. Keep going. Yeah. So, Dr. Sylvester, now I think here we are trying to get your lecturing hat. So, from Hadijah's perspective, the challenge is resistance. From Pa's perspective, his challenge has been the bureaucracies, and the systems, and just trying to go over that. From Faith's perspective, resistance again pops its head up. Then the conversation around government. Ladies and gentlemen, you can help me add what you normally get. You're too young, yeah? You lack knowledge. It has always been done like this. What is the other one you normally get, those phrases? You're inexperienced. Another one? Sorry? You're overzealous. You just go, you still get a zia. Which is the other one? We're not yet ready. We like things we prefer things to be done the way it has been, so that the corruption can still go on and people can benefit from the paper-filled process. It's what? It's not your father's job. Or it's not your parents' work. Our forefathers have been doing this. Who are you to bring this change here? Another one? Yeah? Yeah, government is deep, yes. So, sorry, I'm giving you a loaded question, but advisors, what do we normally do? Because we cannot beat 33 years of experience in government. But at least you can help. See this overzealous or this young person who has gone through the program and is really ready and inspired for change. And they're in government. How do they walk through the system to get their innovation out?
One thing, the overzealous comes because a number of us assume that those who are there don't know anything. the young men and young women rarely take time to understand what the people who are there have done. I remember during the launch of the Peace South, the launch at KICC, ELF brought in a number of fellows who had graduated. So I asked this young guy, what are you doing? And he told me, I do a lot of things. I've been ELF, I've graduated, I started I don't know what, and those other things. And he told me, you see what I've done. Then he asked, and you, what have you done? You see, he asked me in a way that showed that what he had done was far much than what I could have ever do. So we sat down, and he was in a group, and I think, with all the due respect, the young men, that made him so proud, because he was the only young man among, I think, about 4 ladies who were seated there. So I asked them, who are you? So I think one of the things that we normally make a mistake, and that is both common to people in the public service and people who are coming in the public service from outside. They assume that public servants are dunderheads. They assume that public servants have never experienced anything. And let me tell you that that is one of the reasons why we even took 2 years to develop this program. Because I was asking, what is the rationale behind getting a mentor from the public and the private sector when I'm developing a public servant? And I asked, if you look at the most successful company in Kenya, Safaricom, yeah? The first chair of Safaricom, I was in treasury, and I was responsible for the liberalization of the debt sector, of the debt management in the telecom sector. The person who went to set up Safaricom and set it on its foot for 10 years was Nganga. Nganga was a PS in government. That was his career. At that time, CS for trade and industry was Mohammed. Mohammed was the previous regional manager for Barclays then. I said, are we looking at the experience, or are we looking at the sector? So those are the things, that the nuances that young men don't get. In that, if you look at toe to toe, learn the organization. For me, I normally say, I could be wrong, and I know a lot of these young people can I say that youngness is a stage in development. My role is to develop you to be on the table when the right time comes. It's not about now and here. It's about being there at the right time. And I think for that, I want to give you, during the last interviews for the cabinet administrative secretaries, I met a lot of young men who had made it. People who were MPs by 27. 27. A number of them, I think one was from Meru, one from the other place. At 32, they are jobless. They have a family. And what happened with most of them, they did not have the credit reference clearance. Why? Because the second term for their campaign, they had borrowed a lot of money from the bank, and they did not make it as MPs. So they are looking for the next good political job. They can't get cabinet administrative secretary because they don't have the credit reference. What I'm saying is that, yes, could we be waiting a little bit longer? Pay it. If you are a governor at 35, where else do you go? And the party that supported you is not in power. And you are a political enemy to a lot of other people. And you have got a young family. Where do you go? And politicians are vicious. They can fight you like nobody's business. I therefore say that for me, I look at developing young. They come to the organizations, but they come as if they have all the solutions, and they put off the people who have been there for longer. So for me, that is a big challenge. Another challenge that I think as we look at this thing for change, especially in the public service, is when you come up with anything new, most public servants would expect two things: a promotion or additional pay, because they say that this thing is extra. How do you convince them and know that as young people, the public service is a platform for excellence? And what you know is that your next, the reference for your next job is performing well in the current one. So even if you hate what you are doing, you must do it well. That's the challenge. That even if you hate working under me, you must still work very well. I think that's the challenge we get in a lot of these things. So for me, there are myriad challenges that can make things, but for the young men, they normally think that the people they are getting in don't know anything, don't understand them. They are a different generation. They come with issues of generational gap even before testing the waters, and therefore the attitude is not the right attitude for mentorship. So attitude for me is important. Brings a lot of challenge, why it is difficult for the innovations of young people to be accepted in the public service.
Awesome. Round of applause, please, to our panelists. I now would want to throw it to the audience for a question. Maybe as the microphones are going around and we can get a question, I will share a bit of my experience and what you mentioned about attitude. I know, especially when you're under pressure from, say, the president's office, the governor's office, to just get it done. That's when now those questions arise that these young people don't know what they're doing. And I think in hindsight, knowing that that person who you feel is a hurdle has been there 10, 15, 20 years, and you're only going to be there maybe for a short contract period, then you might as well do what Pa mentioned about that thing about, you know, is it lobbying? Is it ensuring that you can reach out to the boss? If the boss is not listening, maybe talk to the boss's friend or somebody so that your idea can get heard. And I think your attitude will come off more as a diplomatic approach than as opposed to top-down. Great. So my microphone is off. Means, are we ready? Do you have it? Can we play it? Awesome. DJ, are you ready? Oh, good stuff. Shall we all stand, please? Shall we all stand? Shall we all stand? Shall we all stand? We have a short. Thank you so much. Yeah, great. Good time now to shoot the questions. Who wants to go first? All right, we'll start from that side. But I think your hand was out first. Let's give you the credit. So please start. Let's start from this side and go this side. Okay.
Thank you so much. My name is Laura from Kenya. It's a fun question. I have a question to Dr. Sylvester, who has spoken very wisely and it's made me understand his perspective with regards to generation gap. So my question is, you have 33 years experience, meaning that you must have joined the public service as a young person. What were the challenges that you faced when you were joining, and how did you overcome these challenges?
All right, we'll take a sample. Anyone take a sample, we'll respond as we give our closing remarks, okay? So, remember your name? Laura, thank you. All right, next we're going this way. Laura's questions, comment, feel free, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't have to. All right, let's go. We have two on this side.
There's a battle between the young generations on how we want to implement our new ideas into the public service, and how the old generation feel that we are a threat to them, or we have a bad attitude when we want to implement our good ideas. So as a young generation, we are sorry for that, the attitude, but at least we want to know what is the best way on how to implement new ideas, because in some instances you find that
Thank you for apologizing to those who not had good attitude. All right, there's a hand here. There's a hand in the middle. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the presentation. And I'm always impressed by attitude determines your altitude. So how you behave determines how far you go. So when is the right time? When? Thank you.
Thank you very much. It looks like all the questions are coming to you. I love the very much. Yes, we really appreciate the learning you given to us. I think most of the advice you shared with us in terms of how we look at public servants and then how else we can look at them so that maybe we can create into the system so that it's actually true. However, there are instances where some old people are used to, and I use old as a loose term, are very used to the way we do things in the system, so whether government system or the large civil society, and they want to sabotage, and I use this word to carefully sabotage the work of young people. As young people within such spaces, how do we go about it? We know this is a great idea. He or she may even agree, oh, it's amazing, but the person may one way or the other want to sabotage your innovation. How do you go about it? And then the last question is a matter of recognition. I really appreciated what you said when you said that young people should understand or learn that your reference in the next job is how well you do the character. Amazing, very true. However, where is the place of recognition when it comes to the work of young people? And I'm asking this in two ways. As young people who are in public service now, where do we place the matter of recognition? We do something that we feel, we think is worth recognizing. Well, how do we go about asking for that recognition? Should we even ask for it at all? And then the second part is that we are also going to become public leaders one day. We will continue the system or this tradition when we turn 50 of not recognizing the work of young people in the public service. We also become just like our elders are, or what can we do differently to recognize the work of young people within the public space?
The name, please, remember? The name? Deborah. Okay.
There's so many.
And last one. That's the last question and comment.
Yeah, so my name is Randolph Lane Darren Johnson. I'm from Liberia. I'm also a current fellow. So my question will go to everyone first, but firstly I want to talk to Dr. Sylvester to also get his point of view on it. So I actually like what he said concerning attitude, and what helped me over the time was our responsive training. Like before you are placed as a PYP conduct like a 2 weeks intensive training. And the intensive training is not all about the computer work, but also helping with how to be resilient, how to take care of situations if the needs arises. So one of the things I learned during that training was how to be collaborative with your innovation. So instead of just pushing it on the people there, or calling them old people or all sort of things, you want to first tell them about it, like do a concept. And I will give you this example. So I'm placed at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, and when I entered that department, so we are called the Macroeconomic Policy Analysis Center, wherein we serve as a think tank for government, helping them to do projections of the budget and what to expect in the economy. So what I observed was that a lot of people within my department was not familiar with a lot of financial terms. And because of that, it was slowing down the work that I observed. So what I did was I reached out to my supervisor, because he's always in office than my mentor. And my mentor is our overall boss. So I told him that, oh, I think we should do this, have this program where we can teach staff. And he said, yeah, that's so beautiful. I didn't just inform me about it, but then I carried a concept note before informing the entire team about it. So when I got his approval, and I got my boss approval first, and we were able to implement it. So it was more of a collaborative, and there are so many things I've done within my department, but more of a collaborative method. But the problem is, and this question goes to everyone on the panel, when it comes to the bureaucracy. So sometimes you have this very innovative way, you have a good attitude and everything, but the people are not accessible. And they're telling you that you have to pass through a whole lot of systems before you can seek approval. And they can say young people who got energy and want to see things happening right away. So how can you pass through the system, bureaucracy, and make sure that you're doing it in an innovative way, respecting systems, as well as helping to collaborate and contribute to your department.
These two are comments, right? Comments. I'm only taking comments now. Just the comments, please. Sorry, in view of time, because I'll wrap up by 4 p.m. Just a comment.
I'm Amina from Ghana. I would like to say that just as the country director for Liberia mentioned that we shouldn't, the older generation, the older ones shouldn't box all of us in the same basket, saying that, oh, we are so quick to rise. We shouldn't also box all of them in the same basket. Not, Deborah mentioned that sometimes some of the older generations may want to sabotage you. Don't forget that younger ones, your colleagues, may want to also sabotage you. So it depends on the kind of people you work with. You should be able to manage your relationship. I'm actually really grateful to the Ghana program because they organize trainings based on these things. We face challenges. Some of our bosses are not good. Others are extremely, like they are really good. You can count on them. You can go to them. You can trust them. So these trainings are really important for us to understand how to navigate yourself in the service and how to build relationships that can help you. Thank you.
Mine is a comment. I'm Foster Harawa, Director of Financial Modeling on the Office of President in Malawi. And I wanted to just strike a balance through a case study as an example of myself between a young man who is so passionate to bring change and innovation and your view about the system vis-a-vis what you get from the system. So a quick case study is that I joined banking, and I realized that in 15 years the bank was not launching any new product. And so as a young man, I was so passionate about new product innovation, and I designed one. And I went to the chief executive and I said, we have to launch this new product. More clients, more revenue, more relationships, and we're going to be #1 bank. And so he said, take the challenge, but let me tell you, there are 7 papers that you must write to 7 committees: the Product Innovation Committee, the board, and the regulator has to understand the product, and the regulator has 3 boards, 3 committees that your paper has to pass. And we also have a head office, and it has also to pass through the head office. And then you have to write 20 policies. The people in sales will need to be trained, so you need a sales policy. The people in HR will need to train the people on your new product, so you need HR policy. And then you need IT policy. And then the people in finance, they also need a finance policy. I realized that I needed 7 approvals and 20 policies across the entire organization to bring out that innovation. And so I changed my idea, but I still realized that this product will change us in terms of the numbers. But the reality is, people don't start it because of the bureaucracy and the requirements. And so I told the chief executive that outside my scorecard, forget about my scorecard, let's consider this as a special project. And give me the team. I got all the 7 approvals, all the 20 policies, we launched the product, and we were #1 listed at stock exchange. So what I'm trying to say is, do not let that what is burning in you as an innovation come out. But as he said, stick out to somebody of influence and share that idea. And when they tell you the process, you begin to approach it better in terms of what does it take for the reality for that innovation to build out? Thank you.
Wow. Great examples. I honestly wish we had the entire evening actually to speak about some of the wins, hits and misses, as I'd like to call it. Dr. Sylvester, I know you have a lot on your plate, but also not wishing away about the colleague panelists and your closing remarks, and also just the question that was posed to all of you. You know, how do you deal with those levels of bureaucracies, managing relationships? So thank you, Laura. Thank you, Yugi. Thank you, Siata. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Johnson, Amin, and Rawa. A lot. You can tell this it's a pertinent issue. So I'll give you 3 minutes, and the rest of us will have a minute and a half each. So I'll donate my time to you to respond to those, and then we will give our closing remarks, and then I will jump to the rest of the panelists.
I joined the government as a 24-year-old, having graduated in October 1990, and 91 June was posted to Treasury. First, I didn't join the government because I really loved to work for the government. But I joined the government because it was what I had. When I joined the government, jobs were not being advertised. We would leave college and then we fill PSC forms, and then they'll invite you for interview and then post you. What I wanted to say is that for you to be accepted in your place of work, first and foremost, identify the challenge they are facing. Don't offer solutions before you even identify what they are facing. Solve their problems first. When I joined the government, I was even taken to a department which was thought in Treasury to be where people were being parked, discipline cases, Government Investment Division. I heard people who had been posted there on discipline, but there was a program that was emerging, the debt management system. Even my boss, who was posted, told me, Sylvester, debt management is a dead end, forget about it. But I had no alternative. The department, and I was posted now to work with an advisor, an Indian, who nobody wanted to work with. I would carry files and go, and then I realized that this debt needed to be computerized. I put all my effort on it. It was interesting. Our time computers were not so common. So Parliament, we were going to Parliament and they would ask about debt. With the time, I used to go to the office even on Sunday to computerize this debt. Then I realized that because parastatols were being sold, the issues on debt, everybody was asking, what is the balance for this? And they would say, go and ask Sylvester. It is him who has been computerizing those things. Little did I know when the system was brought that when I computerized the entire government on-lent loans into the Commonwealth Secretariat Debt Recording and Management System, that I was the first person to have done that in the Commonwealth. That gave me my first trip to London. Most of us ask when you are given assignment, what is in it? How much will you pay me? Please do the job fast and do it well. For government, for you to stand out, to be recognized, there are so many. You have to be extremely diligent in what you are doing. So for you to be accepted, you must stand out. In most cases in the office, at times maybe around 5, like I've been out. When I go back to the office, I want to do 1 or 2 things. I can walk to 1 or 2 offices. The person I will get to do that thing, I might stick with them for a long time. Which means that if you leave before 5 and I don't get you, I know I can't get so and so. In my mind, you are out of my equation. I can't sack you, I can't promote you, I can't demote you, but I also cannot work with you because you leave early. You see, if I have an assignment and I go early, and maybe at times I go at 7:30 and I find something to be done and I look around, who is around? Yeah? And I find somebody around, then I know this person is diligent, they come early, then they will do what I can do. Government is very interesting. So first, understand the challenge facing the people. Give solutions to the challenge. Because remember also, the government is extremely bureaucratic. Records, and laws, and laws, and laws. You are not just going to remove those laws. If you are supposed to be promoted after 3 years, you can't tell me that, oh, I've done something, now you want a promotion in 1 year. Those are the things. No. So the biggest challenge we find is really, one, culture. It can be overcome. It can be overcome. But because you are so many, you have to be extremely outstanding to do that. And a number of us also, government, my advice to you is not alpha and omega. Working for government is not everything. Think outside government. I have not been recognized in government. I've not been recognized, but I've been recognized outside government. And that has made other people to recognize me inside government. Think beyond these little promotions, job group what. At times, in fact, you are promoted and even your salary comes lower because the tax bracket has increased. Think beyond what you are currently doing. And I normally think and ask people, if the government were to sack you today, where would you go? Be one step ahead of your career. Be one step ahead. One of the things, I was a leading debt management expert. In 97, I was called to set up the debt management system in Mozambique, when Mozambique still had one central bank operating as a commercial bank, which means that I had to denote and structure the commercial bank into a central bank and give them the role of debt management. Yet in Kenya, I was not yet promoted and nobody recognized what I did. What made me leave debt management was even a question where Central Bank Kenya sent for request for London, and they said, oh, we need the expert who did your work in Mozambique and South Africa. I did that, the domestic debt module for South Africa. When I went to the director domestic debt in the central bank, they said, we thought the expert was coming from London. That was the first and the last meeting. And when I got an opportunity for my further studies as a chief scholar in UK, I did not do what I had intended to do. I had first of all wanted to do how to raise domestic budget deficits in the international bond market. I shifted, didn't go to Birmingham, I went to Manchester. That's when I now wanted to do reforms, and I did reforms. I came back. What we say, don't seek recognition within government. Seek recognition beyond government. I don't do a lot of work for Kenya, especially at government level, because my leave, I don't take my leave maybe to go home and relax. I normally spare my leave. December, I go home with my family. But in the course of the year, I spare my leave because that's when I do a lot of work for the other governments. So don't look at government and talk about, oh, so-and-so is frustrating me. You are so special, you cannot be frustrated by an individual. That's what I decided. I can't allow an individual to frustrate me. I stayed in one job group for 15 years. In spite of the fact that when I stayed in one job group for 15 years, up to 2013, Commonwealth Secretariat, I was among the top 10 innovators at Commonwealth Secretariat, awarded at Bridgetown, Barbados. I was awarded as a leading facilitator in managing for development results by Inter-American Development Bank in Medellin, Colombia. And my government didn't even recognize that. So don't look for recognition. Government is so small. Look for recognition beyond. You are a global citizen. And if the globe recognizes you, you will be recognized. So please, Don't feel this challenge. What is the right time? What is the what? The right time is not about this promotion. Yes, after staying in one job for 15 years, I was promoted 3 job groups. And I stayed in that job group for 1 year and I was promoted in another job group. So where do you get your passion? Your passion is in service delivery. Your passion is not in recognition from your immediate boss or something like that. Yes, just me. I did an interview for PSS in Kenya. I wasn't appointed a PS. But interestingly enough, last year from April to June, I was leading a team of my former bosses. That's why networking is very important. My former bosses. I was requested to lead a team to recruit PSS for Lesotho. And I took Mr. Lubembe and I went with a governor. I communicate with the minister, the prime minister. So, if the Kenya government doesn't recognize me, that's their problem. That's their problem. Not my problem. If they sacked me today, maybe I would be better off. I'm an associate researcher with the University of Ottawa. I'm an adjunct at University of York, teaching government entrepreneurship at Schulich Business School. I'm a fellow at the University of Newcastle. Do whatever you want. Don't allow anybody to frustrate you. You are too good, too special to be frustrated by somebody whose only achievement was that they have been in government for more than you have been. That's not an achievement. That's not an achievement, please. So really, as she said, at times people can recognize you, people can sabotage you, anything like that, but I would like you to think beyond. You have been given a platform. The issue is, what are you doing with the platform? If you don't make use of the platform, if you don't make use of the networks, if you don't make use of those, don't blame anybody. Don't blame the system, blame yourself. I will close by saying, when we had the first cohort of interns, I talked with them as I'm talking, and I told them you can come to my office for any advice. One person came, Stephen Nkia. And Stephen Nkia came and we said, I wanted to do a master's. We looked at the possible opportunities. Yes, we applied. Thank God, after about 6 months, one came up, Italy. After that, he told me, what do I do when he finished his master's last year? I told him, Kenya is a bit still shaky with elections and everything. Look for opportunities. Between August and November last year, I did about 30 references for Stephen Nkia while in Italy. In March last year, he wrote me and told me, Bill, do you know what? I've been admitted for a PhD at the Austin's University. And they cited one of the references that I've done. Please, 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 I urge you, don't allow anybody to frustrate your ambitions. Those challenges are part of life. They will come. They are not happy about you. Do your work and continue. For me, I've looked at those things and I say the culture and everything, that's a part of every organization. And one thing I think I need to mention, especially for the young men and young women, please understand the organizations where you are posted. For most of the time, it doesn't at times hurt to conform to a number of the things that they request you to do. Things like dressing are very important in government. Don't say, my dress, my choice. You will miss a lot. There are certain meetings I can't take you with your dress, your choice. And you wonder whether you are on a mission to change this organization and tell me, you know, is it the head or is it the way I'm dressed? There are perceptions. Yes, changes come, but learn the organization and also learn what can change and what can also change gradually as you go along. I think briefly, those are the issues I think you guys raised. challenges and those are things. Good opportunities come, yes. And I'd just like to share the last one. When I came from Manchester, and people told me, no, now that you've done the role of IT in organizations, you are very marketable. And it gets into our head, really gets into our head. I also thought I was very marketable. So PMG called me for an interview. I didn't apply, they called me. Then I went and we talked and we talked and we talked. And then they asked me, how much would you expect to be paid? Then I gave them a figure, which was 6 times the salary I was earning in government. And I thought I'd done so well. But when I left, a friend told me, how did it go? And I told me, they asked you how much? They said, yes. Then I told them the amount I said. He said, man, you underquoted. That was so sad. And believe you me, it really put me down. I didn't take up the job. But barely a month thereafter, barely a month, I meet one of the partners at PricewaterhouseCoopers and say, yes, we are going into this. We had met, networking, very important. We had met in a forum of reform in Tanzania, and he said, we want people with your background. And when I went to PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they asked me, the first interview, the second interview, then they asked me how much would you like to be paid. I had thought that I didn't want to go to the private sector, because at that time I had already started developing my proposal for PhD. So I thought I was putting them off by quoting twice the gross I had quoted at KPMG as the net that I wanted. I went on a Thursday, and on a Monday, the partner called me and told me, Sylvester, if you are standing, sit down, because I want to give you earth-breaking news. And he told me, we have agreed to work with you at your terms. I went to Pricewaterhouse. I said, even if I'll only work for 2 months, let me also feel how it's good to have that big salary. So I went for PricewaterhouseCoopers. I worked for 2 years. But after 2 years, I said, what next? These are accountants. These are what? What do we do here? When we win a strategic planning contract with a company, we shout and we think it's the head of the world. When I was at government, I was looking at the strategic plans for all government ministries. In PricewaterhouseCoopers, one, it's a celebration. I said, this is not the type of staff that I wanted. I came back to the government. Then nobody wanted to touch rapid disaster approach. Reconceptualized it, ran it for 1 year. I used my money, transport, to go to every ministry to publish a rapid disaster approach. Picked up. When it picked up, my boss thought that I was going to leave the government. Therefore, she decided to second me to UNDP. To be paid UNDP, working for what? For government. Please work fast. Don't look for what is in it. Do the work fast. And at UNDP, they were paying me more than they were PricewaterhouseCoopers, because UNDP, UN bodies cannot pay you less than what you were earning before. So do the work before. That's what now puts me on the global network. Started doing work for the World Bank, started doing work for UNDP. I was the first founder member of the African Community of Practice on Managing for Development Results, of which I am currently the Vice President Programs. When your boss gives you work, please do it diligently and deliver fast. Government might take long, but for sure, the rewards will do what? Will come. I don't know whether I've said something. I'm not sure.
Thank you very much.
I'm not so sure. But I think, for me, that's what government service is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Sylvester, it's a great inspiration always listening to you. I think I want to wrap it up, of course, with my panelists shortly. Before I do, let me sample what I see online. Thank you so much. There's some folks who are watching us all the way from Liberia as well, Ghana. Godwin, thank you so much. Great innovation for young people. Josiah, I'm following from Liberia. I'm a member of the PYPPA. Dalmena, thanks for the insight. I'm following as well. So thank you so much to all our online audience. I'm really grateful. And now to my dear panelists for a closing remark. And after which I'll hand it over to Andreas as well to give us the guidance on where to go next.
Thank you. So let me answer Randolph Lane. I think she asked that we can respect the system, but how do we get our ideas out there? So the issue here is innovating, initiating change is a whole process. So you need to communicate the benefit of your proposed change to your audience or those in leadership that you need to help you with the implementation of your change project. You also need to address their concerns, because if someone doesn't believe in what you are about to do, they might have a lot of issues that needs to be addressed. So you need to address their concern, and also emphasize on the importance and efficiency of service delivery, because we know public service is about service delivery, how effectively you can deliver services to the people. And another thing I would like to take back, because as I listened to Doctor, let me just take it back to when I was recruited. You see the President's Young Professionals Program, we have this, I don't know if I should say stigma or brand. They refer to us as early smart people. So when you are placed into federal ministry and agency, people don't really open up. They are sometimes afraid, and they have this talk that you are coming to take that job. So it is not that we go with the intention of taking their job, but it is because of the training that we gain from the President's Young Professionals Program. I can tell you, like one of our speakers said, you do the little things, it prepares you for the bigger ones. Like sometimes you will even have people sending you to do something that is not even professionally related. That someone will say, please get me scratch card out there, but then you feel you're too big to get someone's scratch card. As Doctor said, your attitude, it will help you to get out there or not. So you should be willing and available to do those little things. Like, please help me photocopy, please help me deliver this communication at the next office. Although it is not in your TOR, but it doesn't hurt doing that once it is about the benefit and the growth of this office. And another thing I will tell my fellow young people, in as much as we are where we are, we should always ensure that we practice good governance in any given space, understanding the principle of good governance, whether it is transparency, accountability, or whatsoever. You make sure you practice good governance, because in our federal canons, what we practice is what we become. And lastly, I think I want us to look at this intergenerational gap. I listened to Dr. speaking. I might not want to go deeper before it sounds political. But one thing I want us to do as young people, you know, this intergenerational gap, we need to work to ensure that we can close this gap. So if there is a possibility that you mentor one of two persons, take it seriously and mentor that one of two persons, that young person, that you can also bring to the space, because they might not have the opportunity you have to be recruited for some of these programs like the PYP, EPL, also to go through their training. But the fact that you can also take your training to them and mentor them, they can become what you are, and it will also help us to get rid of this gap. We can't do it alone. Public service is broad, and we must ensure that we run our shoulders against one another, so that we can make sure that the young people can get a good name, so that we cannot be classified as they are young people, they don't know what they're doing, they are not experienced. so that we can get that name. But instead, we should get the best. They should always be willing to give us the space, because the space that we have, the way in which we will work beyond expectation, it will also serve as motivation for others to come and take over, or for others to be given that space as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faye, for your closing remarks. Paul?
So I think my fellow panelists have said a lot today. Just to buttress their points today as two things that we should actually have a list of things that, 4 things that we should consider as young people in the public service. That time, give yourself time, build yourself, build a capacity, and work with the little work that you have been given. With time, you build on it. I remember my first assignment at the Office of the Head of Civil Service, where I got there and I was tasked to enter some data entry into PSC forms. A huge document pile. Everybody had neglected it. And I started entering it, keying it into the Excel document. And my deputy director at that time, Mr. McCann, was so impressed with how I did it. And it was through that I got selected, nominated to represent as part of the public sector reforms for results project. Aside that too, the service is one that is a long one. And as Doc said, build your capacity in other opportunities. All right? Don't take it personal. And no today doesn't mean no, it means not yet. So whatever ideas you have, note it down in a diary or something. Probably an opportunity in a somewhat distant future would avail itself for you to apply. Thirdly, public service is service. You're not in to own an idea or claim that I am the one who did it, all right? You're doing it for everyone, all right? So whatever you're doing, don't have it that without me, this thing wouldn't be successful, all right? You're here to serve. And in your best interest, work with those around you to make that happen. And those that are not taken up, just note it down. And then in due time, you could also make a push for it. Fourthly, identify change makers, fellow change makers. These could be directors, these could be people who are even junior staff, but with years of experience that are crucial. In my workplace, for instance, the person at registry is someone I lean so much for information because he has an institutional memory in mind of the organization. So anything I need, any information, anything I need clarifications or an advice on how to go, I see him. And lastly, let's not see bureaucracy as the enemy, but let's see it as a way to rethink about things. That is where I introduce the term creative bureaucracy. All right. Let's say today you're able to work on 2 documents a day, and this passes through a process. Ask yourself, how best can I increase the timeline for which I do this work? And that is the baby steps that would help you build onto a bigger and lasting impact in the public service. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, for me, what I can say to my fellow young ones and young leaders, what we can do first and foremost, let's be open to learning from those who are above us. And that's where the role of mentorship and coaching in public service comes in. Because for me as an individual, it has really helped in growing into the service right from when I was a simple intern fresh from university, growing into the government as an intern, as a psychologist into health, and now as a probation officer. The lessons I learned from my immediate supervisors, and above all, you need to be humble. You need to be open to the positive criticism, the challenges that comes with you being young, because those who are above us, they'll always be there to teach you. They want the best for you. Also with the challenges, as I say, there are lessons to be learned. Not everything is bad. Some are good, because for me it has helped in my current office because of embracing mentorship. Because I remember, Dr. Sylvester, we had selected mentors from outside. And then there were changes, and the Public Service Commission said that, okay, you're going to have your immediate supervisors as your mentors. And it was shocking. We're like, okay, some of us were facing resistance. So how is it going to work? But if you take it positively and be open to engage them and be open to learning, it really helps. Because for that, I can testify that for me it has worked to an extent that my immediate supervisor can fully leave me the responsibility of handling the finances of the station, which is a critical position. Managing the finances is never easy, but because he saw something in me, he saw that this person is ready to learn, ready to be corrected, because we are growing, and entrusted that because of the capabilities that he saw in me as I was carrying out my duties without any complaints. So thank you all.
Hadija Mohammed from Ministry of Interior in Kenya, Pa Kwesi from the Ministry of Defense in Ghana, Faith from the Ministry of Internal Affairs in Liberia, and Dr. Sylvester Zobongo from Kenya. A round of applause to our great panelists. I want to really say thank you very much. Thank you as well to the audience. I'm really sorry, I know I cannot take more questions than what is allocated, but for now it's really to appreciate you. I know it's not a straight line, good people. It's really not a straight line. I honestly would have wished perhaps maybe the attitude would have been a bit different, working in the office of the president who has a 5-year term limit, but maybe I was a bit too ambitious. But there's always an opportunity to learn, okay? There's opportunity with the developmental partners. You mentioned UNDP. I mentioned about the Tony Blair Foundation. I mentioned about the MasterCard. Really, I feel if I was a recruiter, I would look at you first than anyone else, not anyone else who's out there. So I want to give you that. I want to give you that perspective. I mentioned about the Chevening conversation. I've sat on that panel as well. I know that if you've worked in government, you stand a better chance, or even not the best chance. There's also the Blavatnik School of Government. There's a bit about that personal development, and that's something I'll not wish away. If there's an opportunity, you can do like an online course, advancing yourself. I mentioned about Blavatnik in Oxford. I mentioned about the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. There are big opportunities that will definitely look your way, and not somebody of the private sector. And the bit about creative bureaucracy, yes. There was a time where I had to doorstop a cabinet secretary's bodyguard. You know, a cabinet secretary's a cabinet secretary's PA or secretary can make your life miserable. You want a letter signed, but you're taking round circles. So it always comes up to the pile and it's taken round right to the bottom. So that creative diplomacy sort of bit, I think, really is indeed an opportunity for you to leverage on. So don't despise that, what do you call them, T-girl in your offices? Don't despise that T-girl, because the T-girl will go and serve the cabinet secretary tea and will tell you, yes, the CS is here. The driver will tell you when they've left the house, and they'll tell you that they're about to get into the office. And it'll be a step ahead than most people. Okay? The bodyguard will tell you that their next meeting is going to be at Serena Hotel. You get what I mean? It might not just be a phone call to you that tell you the CS is coming or something like that. So I'm just saying things that were not taught in school, but they're just items that you have to just pick out. Andres, there's a song, DJ Gijo is a gentleman who I know from NTV days, so we'll stand. Anyone here who, any one dancer from Liberia, one dancer from Ghana, one dancer from Kenya. Let's have a short competition before I bring Andres. As the panel.
My name is Elizabeth Achola Mangeni. I'm a Senior Trade Development Officer with the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development in Kenya. The first time I thought about joining government was in 2016, when I had tried applying for jobs in the private sector, and I really did receive a very good reception from people in the private sector because of my disability. But when I joined the government sector, they were really welcoming in terms of providing me with the accommodation that was needed for me to work in the government sector. My first recruitment process in government was an online application I did an online application form and submitted it. And then after a few months, I was called for an interview. And when I got at the interview stages, they actually gave me priority because I was a person with disability. And the panelist was really accommodating in terms of if I needed an accommodation for me to perform well during my interview stages. All these years, it's the growth and the opportunities available in government. I've been able to participate in different programs while in government because the human resource really was shared opportunities while we were there as young people to apply, and also the different accommodations that government was willing to provide for me, like a prosthesis chair for me to work well. And also government has been in the process of helping me to secure a very modern prosthesis leg, which I hope will make me perform much better when I'm at work. Words I would like to share to young people: you should definitely join government. My first perception before joining government was I have to know somebody in order to get a job there, but actually that's not really the scenario. I didn't know anyone, and I'm currently at the Cabinet Secretary's office because I didn't know anyone. It's because I worked hard and I was willing to learn and listen to the people who've been in public service for a long time. It is important to develop the capacity of young civil servant because it will change the image of the public service, and it will also be able to tap into the creativity of young people that we currently see in our country, Kenya. So it's really important to do that, and Emerging Leaders Program is currently doing that. So kudos to them. I wish to encourage young people, especially those with disabilities, to join the public service because it's a very good opportunity for you to grow as an individual and to also grow mentally, physically. Literally, it's all about growth and changing the way we run things in the country.